Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next comment or question comes from the Redface. And this is in response to the Roland JX-3P part 3 video, which was all about replacing the battery. Video I did in April 2023. And the Redface writes, "Cool vid, bud. Was it not possible to install the battery holder for easier swap outs in the future? And which type of battery goes into the JX3P? Thanks." Now, this is a bit of a weird battery, and I did look at putting a battery holder in it. But to start with the second question first, it's a weird little battery based on a CR13N standard. So if you go into Google and you type in CR13N, you'll find the relevant battery. Now, the thing is, you won't find that battery with solder tags on it, and this battery needs to be soldered to the board. Now, my initial gambit was exactly what you suggested there, which was to put a battery holder in place of the battery I was taking out. But you know what? I couldn't. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I couldn't find a solution that was a case with solder tags that I could attach to the board in the position on the board that it came out of. Now, I could have done something like I did with the DX7 years ago, which I've never been happy with, and I am going to change it when I get around to that particular job, of basically extending the wires and putting the battery somewhere else. I could have done that. But I thought what I would do is I would do a like-for-like replacement. So I put a battery in. I went and bought a battery with solder tags attached to it. So somebody's done the work for me, which is, you know, effectively they've just had a soldering device. I tell you what, if you go and look at some of the renewable videos, you know, where they're building, renewable battery hybrid pumps, and they've got all these batteries and they're going to put them in and create battery cells themselves. The welding kit is very, very similar to the sort of kind of welds that these people do, but it's all done industrially, so it's nothing to do with me. But the other thing about the case angle to it was I couldn't find a case that would allow me to bend the legs in such a way that I could solder them to the board. So I didn't do it. The other thing I considered was drilling through the board. Maybe if this was my synth, I might have done that, so that I could actually mount the case on it and then drill through. The problem with that is two things. Number one, I'm damaging the board. And number two, you're never quite sure whether you get a good solder connection where you're going through from the top to the bottom, because you've got nothing to solder to at the bottom. All the soldering is on the top, and you can't put the battery in the wrong way round because there's not enough room underneath the board to mount the battery. So again, going back to what was the best option, well, the best option in my opinion was actually to put a new solder tag battery in place on the machine and sort of kind of go, job done, which is exactly what I did. That's what that video showed. It showed me putting it in. There are other Roland designs which are similar, other Yamaha designs which all operate solder tags. Some Korg designs operate solder tags. Never quite understood the whole solder tag idea. Roland's moved, I suppose, with their digital, when they went digital, they moved to a battery holder scenario, which is literally you just flip the battery up and out it comes, put the new battery in and press it home. Job done. Such an easy process. And probably cost them, you know, cents to put a battery holder in there rather than put a solder tag in. But then, you know, at the other side of it, You think to yourself, was this to keep their service techs in business? Could be. If you hear something going thud, 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 that is a bird walking across, I say a bird, a specific type of bird is a pigeon, walking across the roof of the workshop. They don't often make a lot of noise. Next comment question comes from Matt Wright Music. And this was in response to Nautilus exists as the last hurrah for Kronos, a mailbag I did in April 2023. And Matt writes, when the Nautilus was released, it appeared to be a stripped down Kronos and was priced as such. While it had some value at the time, especially with no Kronos on the market, it still puzzled me that it inherited the Flagship moniker, at least by default. I'd love to have a new Korg Workstation, but one of my byproducts of my synth journey over the last couple of years is a desire for hands-on control. In my opinion, removal of so many physical controls from the panel on the Nautilus is a huge step backwards, and it's why I don't feel the need to purchase one. That being said, I agree with you that it's important to ask why you need something before you go and make a purchasing decision. If the Nautilus fits the person's workflow, then by all means, you know what? It's the right synth for you. I'm interested in the recent price drop on Nautilus, and I hope it is permanent, meaning it would set the price where it needs to be when a new Flagship is indeed released. Although I understand Korg will not be attending NAMM this year, the timing of the event would be a good opportunity to unveil a true Kronos successor. Now, I know a couple of people that stated the price drop on the Nautilus is temporary. Do I think that is the case? Well, we'll find out at the end of this month, because the end of June, which is when this video has been recorded, it's meant to go back up to full price. So we'll see if Korg stick to their guns on that. I personally think it will be a mistake, but that's my personal opinion, and I don't work for Korg. I did speak to somebody and they did hint that this may be a more permanent thing, or if the price does go up, it won't go up to anywhere near the levels that the Nautilus was being sold at. But of course, there's nothing official. However, if we were to take a leap from Oberheim, with the OBX8, the OBX8 has dropped in price quite considerably in the last few months. And the desktop version is now coming at 3,200, and the original keyboard synth is coming in at 3,800, which is quite a big difference from its launch price, which was nearly £1,200 more than that. So, is that a market correction, or is that where the market is? Now, I know I've seen several recent people state the price drop has tempted them to buy a Nautilus, and but we do have a silly situation that cost of a new Nautilus is now less than the cost of a second-hand Kronos. How can that be? How bonkers is that situation? You can now buy a Nautilus for brand new for less than you can buy a second-hand Kronos. That is utterly, utterly bonkers. But what it does tell us is it tells us where the music community or the playing community is in terms of the Flagship workstation and functionality of a workstation. They'd rather have a second-hand Kronos than a new Nautilus.